Wow, this curry looks so good. Let's get some.
Good with this, Samik?
I don't know. Curry's kind of disgusting to me. Well, I was so hungry before, but now I just really don't want to eat that. In fact, I don't want to eat anything at all, ever again.
Hey, just like in A Hunger Artist by Franz Kafka.
I think since A Hunger Artist is such an odd story, I mean this idea that there's no food that tastes good out there, I think Kafka definitely intended this as an allegory.
I agree, but it's difficult to be certain what the allegory is. One possibility is that the story describes the fate of a great artist. The artist has no choice but to create his or her own artwork. The public cannot appreciate this sophisticated art and instead prefers less refined forms of art, such as the panther.
Kafka seems to be exploring the relationship between an artist and an audience. The poor opinion of the general public shows that the popular opinion is often nonsense and should be paid little attention to. If Kafka were alive today, he'd pay little attention to the New York Times bestseller list.
Interesting. And considering that The Hunger Artist passed best later in the story, when he has no audience, Kafka could be exploring the importance of an audience to an artist. Maybe he's posing the question that if an artist has no audience, is he still creating art?
Well, whatever the interpretation, the panther certainly plays an important role. Maybe even a foil?
Can an animal be a foil?
Maybe by a generous definition foil, it's worth noting that the panther eagerly eats anything that's brought to his cage and exudes a joy for life.
That joy for life is a really clear contrast with the general despair and isolation that the hunger artist feels. That isolation could have been taken directly from Franz Kafka's life. Many people believe that Franz Kafka suffered from clinical depression. The story could be in a way expressing that depression.
Well, if we're looking for parallels between A Hunger Artist and Franz Kafka's life, it's worth noting that at the end of his life, when Kafka wrote A Hunger Artist, he was suffering from tuberculosis, which made it hard for him to eat. It's easy to see where this idea of a hunger artist came from.
There are clearly also a few religious references in the story as well. The impresario only let the hunger artist fast for 40 days, the same length that Jesus fasted. Also, Noah spent 40 days and 40 nights on the ark, and that's how long the Israelites wandered, 40 years.
Also, the image of the impresario taking the hunger artist from his cage and the hunger artist's arms being lifted above him into the air invite comparisons of the hunger artist to Jesus.
I think you're right, but the hunger artist's martyrdom is fundamentally different unless you run from that of Jesus. The hunger artist's suffering reveals a lack of hope, while Jesus' suffering affirms the existence of a spiritual life.
I think it's really hard to know the religious significance of the hunger artist. But whatever it is, I think it might have to do more with Judaism than Christianity. After all, Kafka was Jewish, and the hunger artist may have represented the isolation that Jews in 20th century Europe must have felt.